Welcome to Two Gals in a Glass Half Full. We are Dr. Jess and Dr. Bobbie, two physical therapists just trying to live healthy most of the time and doing our best to see our personal glasses as half full. Some days that is much harder than others. On this podcast, sometimes we interview others more knowledgeable than us on different topics to teach us about things we do not know. And other times you are stuck with Dr. Jess and I sharing our information and knowledge. So make sure you hit subscribe button below to stay up to date on all the Two Gals happenings. We are finishing out the month of February, and in February we've talked a lot about exercise and different ways to think about exercise so it doesn't feel like it's a chore. It's more of something that we want to do versus something we should do. And I'm really excited about today's guest and the topic. But before we get started, Dr. Jess, what is in your glass?
So I'm still on my kombucha kick. So I usually just buy what's on sale because, I do like a good sale. This is a strawberry acai coconuts with live probiotics. So yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. Sparkling probiotic drink. So Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
I have water. I have a different container there today, though. So I know what the screen. There we go.
Namaste.
So, just plain old water.
Yeah. Now with us today, we have one of my coworkers, Alecia. And so first, before she introduces herself, Alecia, what's in your glass?
I have water in my nice Stanley cup. Yeah. Keeps it nice and cold for a long time. And I don't like warm water. So it's
Same.
good.
Yeah.
Same.
And it has a straw, which is that's what works for me. Is as long as something has a straw, for a water cup, I just drink so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alecia, first, tell us a little bit about you.
So I was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. Over on the other side of town, so not the beach side, but I love going to the beach. It's one of my happy places. I've grown up basically in a dance studio. I've been dancing since I was 3, and it's just been my form of exercise since then, to be honest. And then I work with Dr. Jess in her physical therapy practice.
Yep. So she's one of our clinicians. So she's super smart and super talented, which is why we want to highlight her during the month of exercise, because how she exercises is completely different than how I exercise, but we're both able to achieve our goals in the way that fulfills us as individuals. So that's kind of the point of today, is to say there's not just one way. So Alecia, I know you started dancing when you were 3.
Yes.
So what first got you interested might have been your parents, right? I'm not sure.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
So they put my sister, who's 2 years older than me, they put her in dance, and then they just kind of watched, and I was just always going all over the place and dancing in the living room. My parents were like, I think this kid needs to go and dance. So they kind of just put me in dance and saw how happy I was with it. But what actually made me fall in love with dance even more was when I was around 5, my parents took me to one of my best friends' dance recitals. We weren't at the same studio at that point. And just seeing all the different types of dance that they did at that studio, I was like, I want to do acro, I want to do cartwheels, and I want to do tap and jazz. And my parents were like, okay. And then they put me into this dance studio. And since then, having all the different types of dance between ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical, acrobatics, all of it has just been super fun. So
yeah. And do you still dance?
Yes.
Yep. And do you work full time?
Yes.
Hey, are you married?
Yes, I am also married.
Interesting.
And
I have to ask, what's your favorite type of dance? You mentioned so many. What is your if you had to pick one? I know sometimes that's really hard.
Yeah.
But if you had to pick one, what would you say is your favorite?
I like lyrical because it's very flowy and there's a lot of emotion behind it. I love ballet as well. Just the technique and having the structure to it is very good for me sometimes, because I don't want to have to think about stuff. So having the structure and the rigidity of ballet is very helpful, whereas some of the other stuff, it's a little bit more fluid. But I love all of the dance styles. Tap and I have had a love-hate relationship over the years. There'd be years that I'm like, I love tap, and then there'd be years that I would like get moved up to a different class. And I'm like, I hate tap because these moves are so hard. But then once I learned how to do the moves, it made it a lot better. So there was a lot of back and forth with tap.
Yeah, and I think like what people sometimes don't realize is that once you get into adulthood, you can still use dance as exercise. So it doesn't have to be this thing that like only like your kiddo does. Like as adults, it's still a great form of exercise. And there's a social component to it as well, which is really healthy. So like over the years, how has the studio been socially helpful for you?
It's been helpful because I've had a lot of my friends. I've actually had 2 girls that are from the studio as bridesmaids in my wedding. They're 2 of my really close friends. The director of the studio, just because I've been at that studio for so long, her and the assistant director, I basically see as another form of like not like a mother figure, but another woman figure in my life where I've kind of like been like, this is like, some person that I would like to be as I grow up. And just having that. And then a lot of times too, there are studios that have adult classes. Like we have an adult tap class, and those women love to have parties after class. Every month we have a birthday party. So I was like, I'm going to be in the adult tap class now because I want to have parties. So it's a huge social component for those ladies. A lot of them have been doing it for years. Some of them are moms from the studio. So I stay in touch with a lot of the girls that I actually have danced with in the past. So a lot of friends have been made at the studio.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's great because so much of what we do, there's like this accountability that if it's only us, like I'm gonna show up to the gym by myself, go do some routine by myself, it's really easy to kind of cancel on yourself. However, if you know you're going to be like seeing other people somewhere and you don't want to let them down because you're like kind of looking forward to seeing them, and like there's this like it just, I think you're just more likely to keep going and participating. And then if you are tired or there's so much going on, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't cancel this. I feel so much better now and more energized. And then, the rest of your day is even better than it would have been. So
I think that social component is so important because not saying I've never done this, right? Anybody ever walk into the gym in like 10-15 minutes, you're like, all right, see you later, like did my thing, I don't know what else to do, I'm bored, I'm leaving, like right. I've done that a few times,
a couple times.
Like great intentions, I showed up, but like then I didn't, I was just kind of like, oh, because sometimes with the gym, like there's no, as you were saying with ballet, how you like said like the structure, there's no structure. So it's like, you kind of go, you kind of do what you want. It's like having a day with no routine, no plans. Like all of a sudden the day just goes by and like you get nothing done. Well, that's how I am at the gym. If I don't have like a plan or someone to go with or a class, it's like I show up and locker room looks great. All right, see you later.
Yeah, don't ask me to walk in a gym. I'll look at the equipment and I'll be like, I know what I'm supposed to do on those machines. Nope.
Yeah. Which is okay. Like some people love gyms and they love pushing heavy weight. And, we had that interview earlier this month, and, Devin, who we talked to, like, that's his jam. And like, which is great. It's not my jam. I love running. And then Alecia loves dancing. So like, that's the whole thing. Like it doesn't have to look one way, which is really cool.
Yes.
So you work in physical therapy. So I think you'd be a person that we could ask, what are the physical benefits of participating in dance?
There's a lot of physical benefits. It's balance training, stability training, you're really strength training, you're getting very good flexibility in it. You don't have to have your leg like, being pulled all the way up to your head, but you do get flexible components of it. And then just learning how to co-contract muscles a lot. That's actually very important that a lot of dancers and other people don't realize that you're actually doing. So you're doing things without realizing it. And then it's also really good cardio. Getting that heart rate up. I am pretty sure I close my ring every single time I'm at dance. So my exercise ring's on my Apple Watch, which is always like, I'm always like, am I gonna close it? Because I have to fight with my husband about it. So
Yeah, I was gonna say cardio, I think it's such a great cardio. I have in the past take like dance classes, like more like ballroom type dancing versus like individual dance. But like on Friday nights, my best friend and I, we go country line dancing. And like we're like dripping sweat, exhausted, like wake up sore the next day because it's not something we do like every day, And it's just such a great, it's a great workout. And I love it as we age because it has that balance component that a lot of other exercises are missing, or maybe not missing, but you have to do something extra to incorporate balance in. So I think it's so great. And where we go country line dancing, it is anywhere from like 21 you have to be to get in. So 21, and I've literally seen like 80, 90-year-old lady out there like dancing, doing the line dances. And granted, she's not doing it like the 21-year-old is doing, or she's not even doing it like me, but she's out there moving, and it's just so much fun to see, having a good time, and it adds that balance in. And it's a functional balance because like in life you're moving and stuff.
Yeah. And I think like as we age, especially like as we age, doing things that require you to have coordination with your movement, do position change into a 90-degree turn, 180-degree turn, quick foot movement is really, really important to continue to maintain so that you don't get into that wider base of support, forward pattern where you're looking down at the floor. Just by doing something like country line dancing would be a great preventative strategy for any sort of balance dysfunction or gait dysfunction. Tai Chi is something that it can be super helpful, but then any dance class. I lived in South America for a year and I did salsa dance classing. Dance classing, that wasn't a thing. Dance class.
it can't be a thing. It's fine.
I mean, we'll make it a thing. And it was the same thing. We would do it every Thursday night, and we were like same thing, just dripping in sweat because I mean you're just moving the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean lots of footwork. And what taking a class, which is really cool, is like it actually forces your brain to learn a movement pattern, which is great for prevention of any sort of dementia related illness in the brain. So really developing new neural pathways is such a great way to keep your brain nice and healthy as well. So any new thing that you can learn, but especially like a new motor component or motor skill is like really, really helpful. I mean, I'm not a dancer. It's not a strength of mine. So I had to work kind of harder at learning that than some of my friends that I went with, but then other things for me are easier. So that was just like, wow, like I could learn this, but it was like maybe like you and tap where like I have to work just a little bit harder than something else. But then it was like really cool. And then I felt accomplished because I was like, wow, like I could do this. And I didn't think necessarily like I'd be very good at it. I'm still not very good. But like it was fun.
But that's the thing about like with dance. So for example, if you're going to go weightlifting, you need to make sure you have a proper squat and a proper movements before you actually put weight on you. You don't have to know how to dance. You just have to know how to walk. Or not even walk. You don't even have to know how to walk, but you just have to know how to move your body. And you can learn and pick up, and there's no right, wrong. And, it's just something that you can pick up at any point in your life too.
Any point.
Yeah, there's no age limit on dancing. And I love the idea of the line dancing, the salsa dancing, like that's all stuff that is so different than, a standard, going into a studio and doing that, because the line dancing, you can have any like background in dance. You could have zero background in dance, and they have people to show you what moves to do. And there's people who are very like line dancing, like this is my thing, like if you mess me up it's gonna be, but most of the time it's fun, and no one's really gonna be like, well, you're doing it wrong, as long as you're sitting there laughing and having the fun time that you're supposed to be having when you're doing line dancing. That's all that matters.
And I love with the line dancing, like when I do see older than us generation out there, You see couples, but then you also see single people out there just having a great time, and just I feel like that social component as we age is so important, and it's an area that we tend, especially if you lose a significant other or anything like that, it's just such a great way to go out there and meet people. And as you were saying, like, at least where I am, I hope this is how most fun places like this are, but at least where I go, not only is it all ages, all ethnicities, but then it's like everyone is there and wants you to learn. So like there are the few people and they will just sit there all night and teach everyone, like, the dances, or once in a while they'll be like, this is a really hard one, like you might want to like step aside for this one just because it's like super hard, but they're willing to teach you if you're out there and you know it. And I like that. No one judges you. Everyone looks different. Everyone adds their own flair.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be serious. The other thing I like is, like, if you are in that parent age and you have a kiddo, I love the idea of like the parent and the kid both taking class, and they might not be in the same class, but I think that's really encouraging for a child to see a parent also pushing themselves to learn and do something that's maybe outside of their comfort zone, because then it's going to show the kid, oh, it's okay if I'm not like 100% great at this in the very first class I attend. Like I have space to learn and grow and not be good right away. Because like the parent is struggling as well. Like anytime you start something new, you're just like bumbling your way through it. You're like, oh, I don't know, so like I think as a parent, showing the child like, hey, like I'm doing this too. Like we're just gonna learn together and it'll be fun. It's just such a good teachable moment. So now you can kind of show that kid like this is in adulthood what it looks like to lead this active lifestyle. So it's not like it's just all different ways of teaching and learning and growing as an adult, and a teachable moment. Yeah, love it. So Alecia, when you're working with a patient and you're like, okay, your X, Y, or Z pain is much better now. So let's talk about the next phase in your recovery, which is like, we're always wanting to get back to that healthy and active lifestyle. What are ways that you kind of encourage patients to find that active component for them?
Honestly, I just kind of talk to them about what, they enjoy doing, whether it be gardening or getting out there, or if they don't know like what they like to do, then I talk to them about how like I go to dance, and that is my exercise, and I don't even really feel like it's exercise for me because it's just so fun. And then they're always like, they light up because they're like, wait, what do you mean you have fun but you're exercising? I'm like, yeah, that's the whole thing. Like you don't have to go to a gym and be like in a like, just that plan of using the machines and the free weights and all of that. If that's not what you want to do, if that's something you want to get back to, then yes, let's get you back to it. But if that's not what you want to do, then let's talk about what makes exercise fun for you. So if they're always like, well, I like to go out and, play cards with my friends, I'm like, well, why don't your friends like try to get a group and like go to some class that a gym offers? And then most of the time they're like, well, I don't think my class offers anything. And I'm like, well, look into like Zumba classes and yoga classes. And then they're always like, wait, my gyms do that? I was like, yes, gyms do that. Or just like there's a dance studio, I think out at the beach, that it's not like a standard like ballet studio. It's like the fun like hip hoppy like that kind of thing, but it's there's no like age limit. It's no like you aren't responsible to come every single week, but you can go you can come and go as you please. And I'm like, there's so many different opportunities that you can find. You just have to look into it a little bit, and I'm always willing to help them look into it. So that's how I found the class with like that more fluid schedule and the all different ages, was from looking it up for her patient one time.
Yeah.
So
well, and I found like you can learn the dances like online too, like through YouTube. So there's a lot like to like look on through there as well. just to like learn. Cause sometimes I want to learn some of the dances ahead of time or like start.
Yeah.
Let's not lie. Let's start, have an idea of what like a kickball change is before I walk in and they're like kickball change. And you're like, what?
Yeah. So I do help patients with some of that too. So if they're like, well, I want to start doing it, but I want to know like the basic steps. I'm like, okay, well, let's, make it part of your exercise routine. Let's learn basic steps. So that way, when you do get there, you're not like a deer in the headlights and, trying to figure out what every move is, because, we do have some funky language when it comes to dancing.
Yeah. The other thing is like community centers might offer different types of classes. Tai Chi is not necessarily like dance, it's more of a martial arts, but it does kind of include movement patterns where you're having to fluidly move through a routine, more or less. So it's like kind of a mixture between some dance and martial arts. Zumba is one that just like hit the market and took off. And that's what I think is so great about Zumba, is because it's offered in big box gyms, but it can also be in more of like a niche type gym. And the reason why it's taken off is because it's fun. The music's playing, you're moving, like you can have been going for years, or it can be your very first time. And people are like laughing and smiling and sweating. And it's, so like, they're just fun.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever walked like into a dance class or even like even just like line dancing or salsa. Like I've never walked into a place where dance is happening and seen like grouchy faces, just kind of like for the people actually doing the dance, like maybe the ones sitting around, but for the people actually doing the dance, like they're normally always smiling or like concentrated, but like there's never like a sad, grouchy, bad like face. Like normally everyone is smiling and laughing and just having a good time.
Which is like a really positive endorphin release that happens. So that's a good thing. It's beneficial hormonally to laugh. Like it's a good thing. Like I was listening to this podcast where this researcher was, she actually researches laughter and how many times per day somebody laughs. And so between the ages of 21 and 65, you laugh the least in your life. You laugh more when you're a child and then more at 65. And so why is that? Because like we're seriously working, and like, why don't we laugh? Come on, have fun. Like, let's live for the moment. Let's live for the day. What if we combine stuff together and really get more bang for our buck with our time? So I think it's great. Anything where that's going to have a social component plus a physical health component with laughter, like that's just like, I mean, that's like, you're just checking all the boxes. Like all of those boxes are down the road checked. I love it. So Alecia, is there anyone, any age, any gender that you would not recommend to dance? Like, no, this is not good for you.
No.
That was a leading question.
Well, I mean, it's true though. Like there really isn't any age or gender or anything that you can't stop you from dancing. So it's never too late to start something. There's safe ways to go about it, but there's not any, nothing that should stop you from doing dance or just anything that's going to make you have fun.
I'll say I've seen, pretty amazing top level. I follow some dancers on Instagram and some pretty high level, like dancers, like dancing in wheelchairs and stuff, which is, oh my gosh, I have trouble moving my own body, let alone moving a chair and trying to dance with that, but like they're pretty awesome and it's really cool to see. So you don't have to do it standing, and if you're older and standing is not safe, there's so much you could do sitting in a chair and like moving and kind of progressing through there. And a lot of times some of the reason we can't stand is our core strength or our core stability. So if you start dancing and moving in a chair, it kind of improves that proprioceptive input and could actually help improve your balance.
Oh yeah. And if you're doing something that you enjoy and you start to laugh and that mood improves, then it's kind of crazy what can happen after that. And so we kind of get out of that funk that can happen sometimes. And once we get out of the funk, then it's like the energy level's higher. Once the energy level's higher, activity level's higher, and then slowly but surely you start regaining strength, stability, coordination. Who knows? Is it going to get you out of a wheelchair if you're paraplegic. No. Okay. Like that's not what we're saying. But even if you do have something that is keeping you in a seated position, that still doesn't mean that you couldn't benefit from some form of dance, which is, again, it's just an outlet, which is great, but it includes movement, which is awesome. So perfect. Well,
Probably one of my favorite. I don't do it enough. Like if someone was to invite me, like, do you want to go to the gym or do you want to go to a dance workout? Dance all the way. But I don't do it enough. So
mhm. Yeah. And I think it's like, how do you, like, when you have a, the schedule for the day, the schedule for the week, trying to incorporate dance in, I do think it takes a little bit more coordination in the schedule. Trying to find, if you're going to, just on your own watch a video is a little bit different than if you're actually going to look into a class where you're going to go somewhere. So there's a little bit of research involved. Sometimes there's a monetary component to what's involved. So there is like a bit to like kind of figure out, versus like for me, I can just take off and go for a run. So I can, leave straight out of the house. I don't have to coordinate too much. So there is that, but that doesn't make it like bad. It just means just trying to get that, try and get that all figured out. So,
and sometimes for me, when I have it scheduled like that, I actually am more likely to do it because it's like, I have a scheduled, like the class starts at 5. I can't show up at 5:10. Like I have to be there at 5, so for me, sometimes that structure helps.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think accountability in anything is helpful, especially when it comes to something like exercise, where if something can give on the schedule, that's something that is more likely to give, just because like you have to work, you have to pick up your kids on time, you have to like, there's like certain things like you really have to do. And this isn't like a have to, like you are really going to benefit in the short and long term if you do it. But there's no one saying like, if you don't show up that, you're not gonna like be able to make enough money to live in your house, so this is
Right.
this is like a next level of need. So it's not like that baseline need, it's a level up. It's still really important need for short and long-term health benefits, which is why we're highlighting it. Yeah. All right, Alecia, well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you sharing your passion, because I think hopefully other people can learn from that and realize that maybe this is something that I could try and incorporate, and just look into different ideas of what could be going on. And like Alicia's tap's not like her favorite all the time. There's other things she likes better. Sometimes you do have to try a couple of things before you figure out what's going to be the one that like, this is my jam. Like, I really enjoy this. That's normal to go through that process of having to figure things out. So stay tuned. Next month, we've got a whole new series coming up. So we're going into stress awareness, which is like, yeah.
Actually, I think you skipped a month.
Did I skip
We're
a month?
going into nutrition.
Oh, you're right. I did skip a month. Oh my
But
goodness.
stress awareness is after nutrition,
That's
and they all
coming after
kind of
that.
go together.
Yeah, I totally forgot. So yeah, nutrition is coming up. Nutrition is actually something that I really love a lot. Those go hand in hand with exercise, like movement plus what you're putting in your body. I mean, it's just like you marry the two. Thanks, Dr. Bobbie, for keeping me on track with our schedule.
Hey, I need it sometimes too.
Yeah. So definitely make sure to follow us. We're on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And then we do have our paid group for our 2 Gals Insiders. So that's a group that we have. It's a portal that we have now through an app, so that you can have extra information available to you that includes exercise, mental well-being. We've got recipes in there. We've got toxin-free living in there, and product recommendations. And so all of this is available in an app. And then Dr. Bobbie and I go live once a month with our insiders group. So if you want to learn more about that, check out our website, 2-gals.com, or read in the episode description below, and all the links will be there. All right, everybody. So
Hi, everyone.
Yep. So much more is coming up.